Name is Viet Lei, and I represent Wutan, Seattle. I'm joined today by Master Joseph Levitis from currently residing in near Tel
Israel.
Aviv.
Netanya. Not really. Yeah. It's
No.
like in between Tel Aviv and Haifa. Yeah.
Okay. Um, and this is the first time we're speaking to each other. We've contacted each other over Instagram, and I guess there's a lot of things that we have in common, especially our Vietnamese martial arts history. And I thought that it would be an interesting sort of aside to ask you more questions about how um, Vietnamese martial arts came to Russia and your experience with that, and how you eventually met with your current teacher, Master Ilya Profatilov, and his Mantis background. This might have to be a multiple interviews. I think I don't know if we'll be able to cover everything in one interview, but
Sure.
just thank you so much for making the time today.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor.
Um, could you just briefly introduce yourself and maybe your origin story, how you came into martial arts?
Mm. Joseph Levitis. I was born in Soviet Union, 1975. So a long time ago. And I come from, if we're talking just strictly martial arts, I come from boxing background. My father and my grandfather both were boxers, and so I started out with boxing, with just Soviet style boxing, basically. Uh, but so we like so when back in the 80s is when Asian martial arts started to pop up in Soviet Union. It was mostly underground because there was persecution of martial artists, of Asiatic martial artists, like of karate practitioners and kung fu practitioners, for various reasons. And what sparked my interest was, though, that my father was very critical of karate. Like I was like, I showed him something, like I saw, I was like karate, and he was like, they don't know anything. They don't know how to fight. Like all that kicking doesn't work, right? So he was coming from strictly boxing perspective at this, and immediately that sparked my interest even more.
You
Because
were
it's
just
like,
kind of going against your father, kind of, in that way, like rebelling against your father, or how do you mean?
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. The minute he said that it's now no good, I was like, oh, okay, great. I'm very interested now.
Okay.
So, so I started. Actually, I started doing karate without him knowing yet. And really, I discovered I really liked the kicking and stuff like that. Um, and so one of my friends in high school, like we were sitting next to, I was transferred to a new class, so I didn't know anybody. And I was sitting at my desk, and during the history lesson, it was super boring. So I was drawing little drawings of, mm, karate people. I was in art school, so I could draw pretty well. So, so I was sitting
I've
there
seen some of
drawing.
your posts, so I believe it. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I haven't done it in years, like seriously, but like
Uh-huh.
back then, I was all into art school because on my mom's side, everybody's artists, So
Mhm.
yeah, so that was what I was planning on doing art, right? And I was drawing these little cartoons of people fighting, and the guy sitting next to me was like, "Oh, so you're into like martial arts?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Me too," right? And he was like, "You want to go fight a little bit?" That was normal. Like we were fighting all the time, um, friendly, non-friendly. Like back then, if you go to school, it's very likely that you're gonna get into one or two fights a day.
Okay.
Uh,
Wow.
Whether you want to or not. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We like to fight a lot.
And how old were you around this time?
Okay, so um, okay, so this was like fifth grade,
Okay, so
something
maybe
like
10,
that.
11.
No, sixth grade. Sorry, sixth grade.
Okay,
Sixth grade. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So, so this guy, Georgi, right? We go back, and I'm pretty sure I can handle myself. I do boxing, right? So, and and he kicked me in the leg, and that hurt a lot. I've never been kicked in the leg like this. Like I've never been kicked in the leg per period. Nobody kicked me. This guy kicked me hard. Like I didn't show that I was hurt, but then when I came home, I couldn't take my pants off because there was a hematoma that was like
Oh,
this size. I couldn't take my pants off. Like literally, I just couldn't take them off. Like they were too tight, and I was like, how the hell do I take this off?
yeah,
You
yeah.
know? Um, and I was like, this is interesting. You know. So I was like, what do you do? And it's like, well, we do kung fu. I'm like, interesting. I've heard only of karate before. I was like, well, what is that? He's like, well, it's like Chinese martial arts, but we do Vietnamese martial arts. So I was like, okay, that sounds very interesting. So that's how I got into it, and I started secretly doing um, the Thieu Lam Song Kuen.
Okay, Tulum
Uh,
Lamsod. Okay.
yeah,
And how do you know how this art came to Russia?
yeah, 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 absolutely. Okay, so basically, the short story of the style, as I know it, there was this guy Han Bai,
And by
whose real name I think is Le Bai, right?
Leva Mai. Yep.
Uh, yeah, and so he was born in 1889, and he came to Yunnan uh, in China to work on a railroad construction.
Hmm. Hmm.
And there was a typical mythological story to go with that, where he gets beat up and he gets picked up his master, right, and stuff like that. Of which I don't believe for a second, because it sounds like every other story of every other movie, and could be whatever, right? Not important. So the guy he started studying martial arts with, his name was Kuan, Li Kuan,
Hmm. Hmm.
and he was studying a style called Lang Hua Chuan, which is lotus flower
Bien Hoa Quyen.
fist.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was in China, so I guess
Right, right.
whatever.
Hoa.
Right. Yeah, Lang Hua. And he studied with him for a while, and then he got a recommendation letter apparently to study with Zhao Guan Chao, or
Hmm.
another way it's spelled is Chiu Guan Choi.
Yeah.
Not sure which one is which. Um, so he studied with him a style called Wu Lu Mei Hua Chuan, which is five roads,
Hmm.
Mei Hua Plum Flower Fist. Apparently, I didn't know that at the time, but then I much later, when I was researching this stuff, I found out that he wasn't the only Vietnamese study student of this master. There was at least other two guys. One is name was Bakat, and the other one's I think Bai Moi.
Hmm. So Ba Cat and Bai Mua. So there were
Yeah,
three Vietnamese who had studied in China with this teacher, Qie Guangqia.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So
it's
yeah,
so
that's
interesting to hear. I've only heard Vietnamese talk about it, and even in
mhm,
Vietnamese martial arts circles, only a very small circle of people talk about it now. and it's so
Yeah.
interesting to hear it coming from you,
Yeah,
kind
but
of
it was
removed
a
from the
big deal
culture that
for
this history
us.
was transmitted.
Yeah, but it was a big deal to us. It was
Yeah,
important to us,
yeah,
so to us that was the thing we were doing.
right,
So
right.
it's very interesting um, a lot of this history that I was told was a little simpler than what I know now.
Hmm.
It was like more streamlined. It was like Hanbai, then this guy, that guy, and here you are. It was much simpler. But then I ran into this guy, like years later, like many years later, I ran into this guy who actually he resides in Saint Petersburg, formerly Leningrad, where I lived. That's, by the way, where I was living. I was born in Moscow, but I lived in Saint Petersburg,
Yes.
back then Leningrad,
Hmm.
and that's where I was studying this stuff, right? Um, so I ran into this guy who actually went to Vietnam, and he goes there on regular basis, and he trained with a lot of these people, and not these, like much later, the other generation, but and he had like a way more detailed history of this, so I wrote this down because it's very interesting. Anyway, so Hanbai studied there for roughly 10 years, it appears, something like that, because he came when he was 19, so 1908, roughly, and he came back, it was 1918, right? Um, and he started teaching in Hanoi. And he initially called the school Hanbai School, Way of Hanbai, something like that.
Hmm.
Uh, and so at the same time, there was this guy. That's the other guy. The older person in the photo is Chan Van Gia.
Okay, so Mangia.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, who was also like in the original lineup, he was like Hanbai student. Apparently, not really. He learned Teolam Noijiakuen.
雷架拳，
Uh,
教人雷架拳，跳咁耐
yeah,
咋
yeah.
So it's
So
basically
so
Shaolin, 内家 internal family fist.
Neija internal family. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll use both. I'll use all
Uh,
three languages during this interview, so don't worry about it.
yes. Yeah. So he learned that, and then they exchanged with Hanbai. So it wasn't like he was his student; they were just exchanging kind
Mhm.
of stuff. And mm, he had a student, so he lived to be really old. Apparently, he lived to be 102.
Mhm.
The Chang Wang Gia. Um, Super old guy. So he had a student uh, whose name was Juan Van Leong,
Okay.
uh,
Okay.
and mm, he studied from this guy, and he studied from a bunch of other people, I think, because he learned like Bakme, uh, Chogar, um, Wing Chun, Lohan Chun, some like a plethora of styles. He's kind of like you. He knew a lot of different stuff. Uh, so mm, so he studied. He actually studied from under one of those other guys that went to Vietnam at the same time as Hanbai as
Okay.
well. He studied under Nguyen Mandik. Nguyen
Went
Mandik.
like this. Went like this.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Who
this
was
guy was the
apparently
founder of Hongzha, right? Is
yeah.
that who you're referring to?
I suppose. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's right. Um, so he basically formed his own school and named it Tio Lam Song Kuen,
Hmm.
which was a product of all those things that he studied, including the Hanbai stuff and Hongza and Bakme and whatever. Like
Just a
it
big,
was a
big hodgepodge of stuff.
yes, but he organized it in his own way, which was very interesting. Um, so he had a son whose name was Huan Wan To.
Tang Tang. Do you know where he
Yeah,
ended up?
USA,
Sorry.
USA.
Yeah, USA. He's in North Carolina or South
Yeah,
Carolina, one of the Carolinas. I've spoken to him briefly.
yeah, but doesn't teach, right?
He doesn't teach anymore. His family
Yeah, yeah,
runs a
yeah.
nail salon. His family runs a nail salon. Got to make a living somehow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure. So, Huan Wan To uh, um, had a son, Gwen Viet Hong,
Hmm.
and that's the guy that came to Leningrad
Hmm.
in the 80s. A lot of people came from, like, Vietnam had very good relations with Soviet Union, and we had a lot of Vietnamese students always. Like when I was studying at the art school, uh, we had a dormitory where we had foreign students or students from other cities from Soviet Union. Soviet Union was huge, right? So we had all kinds of people from all over the Soviet Union because this was like a premier uh, art school for Soviet kids. Like
Hmm.
very hard to get into. You need to pass like several day examination to get in there. So we had some Vietnamese, Chinese, Korean students, students from Africa, from all over the world, really. Uh, but there was a lot of Vietnamese people in Leningrad specifically back then. And then later, actually, I lived right next to Vietnamese embassy. Not the actual embassy, but there was a building that the embassy rented for the personnel.
Hmm.
And so my neighborhood was like all Vietnamese. For
Interesting.
yeah, a lot of Vietnamese cafes there. They all speak Russian, of course,
Hmm.
so it's easy to communicate. Mm. So anyway, we had a lot of Vietnamese guys. They had a pretty good reputation for um, being pretty good at fighting, actually.
Really?
Like
I mean,
yes,
considering how the size difference between Russians and Vietnamese, I can't
well, that's what
imagine
I'm
these
saying.
people
Yeah,
having that
yeah, but
reputation.
no, no, they had a reputation for being scrappy, like not necessarily successfully winning fights or something, but being like willing to
Willing to fight.
bang.
Willing to
Yeah,
fight. Okay. Okay.
yes, yeah, yeah.
Well,
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 that's
Vietnam just beat America, so they were scrappy. So,
well, in Russia that's important. You gotta earn your respect.
mm,
Like you go to high school, you cannot not fight. It's
mm,
impossible,
mm.
right? And so people are gonna pick fights with you, and you need to hold your own. So yeah, so they did well.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Mm. So yeah, so that's the guy. That's the Nguyen Viet Hong. That's the guy that was teaching there, and there were other people coming in once in a while, but I don't know their names. That's the guy. And I was back then. I was learning from some Russian guys that were under him,
Mm.
right? And yeah, that's how I ran into Vietnamese martial arts. Uh, would you like to know the curriculum of?
Yeah. What were what was the curriculum like? What were the core practices? Because
Okay,
it seemed like there were so many styles. So I guess was it like you'd start off with basics from one style and then you would learn forms from another style? How did that work?
Yeah, we had a definitely a very specific curriculum. It was 12 forms that were would start off with like very short forms, just few moves, very compact, not a lot of moving. Our stances weren't super low,
Hmm.
they were like medium, but not very high, not like White Crane or something, but not super low like the Northern styles, like
Hmm.
in between. Um, it had a distinct flavor that I realized later was Vietnamese martial arts, not Chinese martial arts. Uh, but it was like, 50-50. I mean, there were things that are like, okay, this is obviously like, Southern Chinese Kung Fu. And there were things that are like, I'm not so sure what that is. But now I kind of know what that is. Uh, which is very interesting because like a lot of these moves they were like very close to the body, kind of like
Right.
squeezing yourself, and stuff. So that was very Vietnamese, in my opinion. I mean, that's what I've seen later, right? um, so 12 taolus, gradually adding stuff, dealing they would like each taolu would deal with specific things like stances and this and that, right? And there were the ones that I really liked. There were 5 sets that were dedicated specifically to hitting surfaces. Like first one was 15 fists, right? Uh, which was stationary. You do all kinds of like uh, uh,
Punches.
hands,
Hmm.
punches with the fist. You do that with 2 hands first,
Hmm.
like this, you know, right? Like same on both sides. Then you do one side, the other
Hmm.
hand is just parrying or whatever, right? And then you do the same thing in movement. And we had that for fists, for palms, for elbows, for forearms, specifically just
Forearms.
forearm strikes, and the claw.
Hmm.
Um, those I really liked. I don't know, for some reason those were like my favorite. That's what I like to do. Uh, uh, we did basics. Then you would work on your form, whatever that was, right? And then we did a lot of conditioning and drilling and sparring. Yeah, well, that's it. It was very practical oriented, very geared towards fighting.
Hmm.
Uh, it's everybody from that generation, at least, of the school, that they could fight. But that's true for most martial arts back then in the Soviet Union and early Russian Federation, because that was the environment. That's why people went there. So like even if it would be like something like Aikido, the Aikido people could fight,
Hmm.
which is unusual nowadays.
Hmm. For sure. For
You had
sure.
like you had to know something, right? You had to know how to take care of yourself, right? So that plus the Honja
Hmm.
stuff, which was uh, treated as like Nego, basically, not as a separate thing, but as an agon that we do. We did the stuff like Ijinjin and stuff like that, but also like the Hongjia, the all the that
The
stuff.
the the
We
same
did that.
posture.
Yeah, I was aware that that's not the entire school of Honja. It's just a set of exercises from there, basically like 36 specifically. They chose 36 that they thought were you know, the most useful, and that's what we did. usually at the end of the practice. Uh, yeah, and some weapons. There was staff, uh, a very unusual sword with 9 rings in it,
Okay.
in a
Like a
back,
saber
like a
with nine
real
rings.
two-handed
Yeah.
broadsword with 9 rings in the back.
Oh
That
wow.
was like specifically the weapon that they were teaching, and paired knives, like small knives, paired knives, and
Not butterfly swords, but two
no, no,
small.
no, no, like small knives, small
Okay.
knives, yeah, and a spear.
Okay.
That was back then, right? And then I left. I did that for several years, and I left Soviet Union in 1991. But it was in between period where it was like not Soviet Union, but not Russian Federation yet. It was called SNG, which is um, Union of Independent Countries, something like that. It was like
Former Soviet
literally for like
republics or something.
yeah, yeah, no longer the Soviet republics. It was like past the Soviet Union, not quite. It The Soviet Union didn't dissolve yet completely, right? I think the Baltic republics separated, but the rest were just still like in the
Or
process.
just sort of in between.
Yeah, yeah, that's when I left. I went to States. That was the end of my Vietnamese martial arts back then,
Mhm.
right? And then when I came to States, I did first thing I ran into, which was Muay Thai, right? I was like, wow, that looks interesting, right? It's
So
got
you had
elbows.
never seen Muay Thai before in the Soviet Union. It wasn't only until you
Oh,
came to the States that you saw it?
yeah, yeah, I've heard of it. I heard the words Muay Thai, but I've never seen it. We didn't have
Okay.
Muay Thai. I gotta tell you, Muay Thai back then in New York wasn't a big thing either.
Oh wow.
Like a lot of people didn't understand what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They're like, "What is that? Like karate?" I'm like, "Not really."
Oh
You
wow.
know,
I
yeah, a
thought
lot of
John
people
Claude
didn't
Van
understand.
Damme's movie, like Kickboxer, came out and everyone knew about Muay Thai. I guess not.
Not really. They were thinking more like kickboxing.
Mm.
They didn't understand the difference.
Mm.
That it's a separate art with its own culture
Sure.
and technical, you know, uh, specialties and stuff like that. Yeah, I had no idea either. I was just like looking for something, and it was on a corner, and I went in there, and I stayed for like 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how
Right.
old were you? How old were you when you came to the States?
16.
You were, I'm sorry.
16. 16.
Okay. Okay.
16. 1 6. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I started doing Muay Thai, but I was always interested in like other Chinese martials because I was already hooked a little bit on that, and so I did a bunch of like other Chinese martial arts at the same time. I was just curious. I
Mm.
did some, you know, like some Hungar, some Bagua, some Shini, some stuff like that. Nothing for prolonged periods of time though, because it was hard doing two things at the same time. Like my Muay Thai was taking up most of my time. Well, I also had to work and go to school and
Yeah.
whatever, right? So it's but I was trying stuff. And I
Mm.
ran into interesting stuff. Like there was this Laotian school of martial arts that was very interesting from Laos. Yeah. Um, so I did a bunch of that, but mainly Muay Thai, and um, then I moved back to Russia in 2006, and I took a break. I didn't want to do any martial arts actually. I was just kind of tired from it. Also, quitting Muay Thai. Like a year later, I realized I'm not slurring my speech, which I didn't know I was slurring it. I had no idea, literally. And I was, all of a sudden, I'm like speaking more clearly. And
Uh-huh.
I'm like, I wonder if that has anything to
You were
do.
taking a lot of hits to the head.
No, but you take some.
Yeah.
It's impossible not to take
Sure.
hits
Sure.
to the head when you do boxing or Muay Thai. Uh,
Sure.
what's not a lot? Not a lot by boxing standards.
Sure. No, that's true. That's true. You're right about
Not a
that.
lot, but you get some. Like every time I would get off, like Friday morning, we had a sparring class, early morning, just sparring, nothing else, right? Like all kinds of sparring, right?
Mm.
And that was my favorite day. But I would get out by 7 in the morning. I would get out, and my head was like this. Like I felt like I was wearing like a kind of like a protective shield or
Great
something.
helmet.
I don't know,
Shield.
yeah. And I would go in, I would get out, and there was a Chinese cafe. There were like all of old people sitting there smoking. There was you couldn't see anything from how much smoke there was there,
Wow.
right? And drinking tea and coffee and smoking and playing games and reading newspaper. It was like round tables. You could everybody can sit down around the table. You can just sit at any table,
Uh-huh.
right? And I would go there and sit there for like half an hour, drink my almond tea, and my head would slowly just shrink back like this. That's what it felt like. But I thought that was great. I was like, getting out of there, and I was like, wow, that feels awesome. I was like, you know,
At that
you
age, you're
know.
like you just have no fear. You're just enjoying every moment of it.
No, I loved it. It was awesome. It was great. Yeah, yeah. So now in retrospect, I'm thinking. I mean, it's a good thing I stopped. Maybe, right? So I came back to Russia and I didn't do anything for a little while. But then I wanted to do something, but I didn't want to do the same thing, right? So I was looking at stuff and I was trying stuff, and then I was like, oh, I did the Hiolam no Songkran. I want to go back to that. And I went and I found some guys that were still doing it. Not the same guys though, like different guys. But I found a school, and I did that for like another 6 years. I just basically went over the entire thing that I knew and more, and
Mhm.
I pretty much did the whole curriculum back then. Uh, so I was doing that. I mean, some of those videos I sent you actually, like not just doing stuff, just standing around looking at what
Mhm.
everybody's doing, but I'm there. I didn't know I was in those videos. I looked at it. I was like,
That's me.
that's funny. That's me, you know. And then, mm, so as I was doing that, um, I went and visited a bunch of schools. I went and I saw some different schools in Moscow and St. Petersburg. And some good ones, some interesting stuff. There were some Chinese people teaching there as well. We have a large Chinese community. Um,
Was it
and
traditional? Was it wushu or
Yeah,
was it traditional kung fu or?
both, both. Yeah, the like eh, all kinds. You like,
Okay.
especially Moscow and St. Petersburg, you'll find everything. Like all kinds of styles, all kinds of like not so much, not so much from the south, I guess, but a lot of traditional stuff. Like you're not going to find Choi Li Fan, for example, but white grain maybe out of the south stuff. Everything else is pretty much like Bagua, Shini, Tungbei, Chojiao, Baji, whatever. You're going to find that. Yeah, there are people doing that. And So, as I was looking for stuff to do, somebody wrote to me and he's like, well, there's this guy, Ilya Profatilov. You gotta go see him if you're really interested in like, traditional Chinese martial arts. And I went there and um, I immediately realized that this is a whole different thing. I've never encountered anything like this prior to, to that meeting. That
At
the
that
way
time,
the
was he still residing in the United States or was he
no
living like I know that he was going
no
back and forth between the US and Russia, but
Nah, he was living in China.
Okay, he was living in China. Okay,
Yeah, yeah. He was living in Shandong,
okay.
in a village where
Doing
he
the research
found.
of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When he was living in that village where the style that he was teaching us at that moment was there was this guy that he found. Right, you know his story, uh, right? Ilya's story. In short, uh, back in 1990. He went as a study. He was studying sinology, right, basically,
Mhm.
and doing some wushu stuff, whatever was available. And he went to China. He went to Beijing to study, and luckily for him, he ran into Ma Hanxin. I don't know if you know
Mahanxin.
him, right? He studied with him and became his adoptive. He adopted him as a son.
Mhm.
So he has gave him his last name. He's um, Ma Yangguan.
Mhm.
That's his Chinese name, right? And he learned Mei Hua Tang Lang from him.
And Six
Uh,
Harmony too, right? I think he also learned
and
Liu.
six harmony.
Yeah.
Yes, Lucha. Yes, and Tai Chi. He
Mhm.
learned Wu
Wu
style Tai
style.
Chi. Yes, and some other stuff, but mainly that. Uh,
I remember I heard his podcast and he said that originally he wanted to learn Tongbei. And Mahanxin said, "Oh yeah, we'll get to
mm-hmm.
that. But I'm going to teach you
Yeah,
Mantis first."
exactly.
And he realized after all these years, he never learned Tongbei. He just kind of strung him along for the ride. So I
Yeah,
thought that was a
yeah,
great
yeah, yeah,
story.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So exactly, uh, he has great stories. Anyway, so so then he's like after Machansen passed away, he started doing all kinds of research, and he went and started traveling, to looking for roots of the praying mantis, and he found uh, first Taiji Tanlan, basically studied that for several years and he kept moving around these villages, and he ran into eventually this guy Lin Tanfan, who was teaching Mei Hua Tang Lang. But that branch of Mei Hua Tang Lang doesn't really exist outside of those few villages. It's literally Lin Tanfan, his son Lin Juju, uh, in the nearby villages. There are bits and pieces of that same system. So it was
Mhm.
disseminated around that area.
Um,
And through his research, he concluded that that's pretty much the oldest branch you could possibly find that it survives intact.
mhm. I'm sorry to have cut you off, but you were saying you were sort of in the middle of describing your experience learning from uh, Shifu Profatilov. So um,
Hmm.
could you please continue?
Yeah, it was very interesting. First of all, he was screaming at us in Chinese, which was hilarious. He was like, half the time, he was like, "Roar," like in shit, like this guttural, Shandong, kind of way.
Uh-huh.
And he insisted that he names everything in Chinese. I was like, oh my God, I can't remember any of this because we haven't done that before, right? And the structure of the class was very different because we would start with like some warm up, of course, but then you go straight into like the you know basic conditioning. But right after that, everything gets paired.
Hmm.
You learn the paired stuff first.
Hmm. Oh, not after. Interesting.
No, 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 no. It was directly uh, paired, and then you go to the bag and you do the stuff on the bag.
Oh,
You hit the bag,
conditioning.
right? Yeah, 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 yeah. And then you learn the solo drill for it after that, right? And I was like, that's interesting. But also, I was like, he wasn't breaking stuff down as much. He was like, here's the technique, like the entire solution.
Mhm.
Like this is what you do. You grab a hand like this. You do the elbow, you throw the person. That's the technique. He didn't teach us how to do these things separately.
Mm.
I was I was like, wow, that's weird. And for the first couple of years, I was trying to break it down for myself, and then I realized that doesn't really work.
Mm.
Yeah, because the formula is the other way around. It's you get the entire things, a complete idea,
Yeah.
and then you work from there, basically.
Mm.
Um, which was very interesting. But also, like, just physically, I mean, I knew how to fight, and, and I sort of thought I knew what to expect from Chinese martial arts. And so I was asking him, I was like, well, how does this work, right? What if I do like a 1-2? He's like, yeah, uh, do the 1-2. And you don't want to hit the person, right? Because
Mm. Mm.
you're trying to learn from him. He's like, no, do it for real. I
Mm.
did it for real, and I ended up on my ass, and I had no idea how,
Mm.
which was very surprising to me because I know what can happen to you, like if to deal with like a wrestler or a boxer or even like other Chinese martial arts I've have encountered before, right? I kind
Sure.
of know what they usually do,
Right,
you
right,
know?
right.
And I was like, I had no idea what just happened, but I just flew, upside down and ended on my ass. I was like, that's interesting. Uh, I really want to understand what just happened, you know. And now I know what he did,
Mm.
But back then I had no idea, and it's always fun to do that to my students because they have no idea what's coming.
It's a way of ushering them in. So
Yeah. They have no idea what's coming.
yeah.
It's fun. Anyway, so I liked that a lot. It was very different. Um, Also, he was very hands-on. He really didn't shy away from hitting us and throwing us around. Uh, I realize now that he wasn't doing it full force at all. Well, it was quite enough.
Mm.
And in the summer, he would come from China and he would teach at his summer house in Russia, and we would travel there and we would just train. A lot in between just eating, drinking, and talking and training. It was like an ongoing process, and it could start be like right at the table, like you eating something. He's like, and he's talking, explaining stuff, and he's like, "Let me show you this." Boom! Like he gets smacked in the face, you just like, oh, okay, thank you. I think I got that.
I mean, so
That was great.
he's basically teaching you the way that his teachers probably taught him, right? The
Yeah,
Chinese way, where you have to be
yeah.
ready for a lesson all the time.
It's a lesson all the time, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And uh, yeah, yeah. I remember flying across his little patch where they grow stuff
Oh gosh.
on numerous occasions, especially at night. It was a weird training at night. I never trained at night. Yeah, I'm a morning person, but this was like uh, a lot of the training would be much later on,
Hmm.
right? And like much later on, and that means like there's no light because it's suburbs of Moscow. Some places like at night, not so lit up, like completely pitch dark, and you'd be like, uh, I thought we time was training because like it's really late. It's like
Hmm.
like 11 or 12, and at night we're very tired. Everybody wants to. We were just eating, and he's like,
Yeah.
okay, let's go train more. I was like, what? I just ate like I just like ate a whole lot of food. It doesn't matter. And it's like, let's go. Now we're gonna learn the Fan Mao Chuan, the form. Let's go. And
Oh,
it's like, I'll show you some stuff, and you're standing there with your stomach full. He's like hitting you in the stomach. It's like, whoa! It's like I almost threw up like several times. Yeah, yeah. So training was weird, like different, very different. I've never experienced anything like that. Yeah. So that's what I ended up doing for the next 15 years, which is by now Mei Hua Tang Lang. We did a little bit of like his luche,
Hmm.
but mainly Mei Hua, and he would give us bits and pieces of Taiji Tanlan and Mei Hua Taiji Tanlan as he saw fit, like
Hmm.
certain techniques, or like he would teach somebody like a form, right? Uh, because it would fit them. Like so, like I always asked for like private classes along besides the general stuff, and I would ask him specific things. I'd be like, "Can I learn some kicking from money?" He's like, "Yeah, there's a whole form,"
Hmm.
and he taught me that. He never taught anybody else that because I asked. So um, things like that, and yeah, some you could get like he wasn't holding back at all. Like you could learn it. As a matter of fact, I was kind of like sometimes there was just too much stuff to learn. I wouldn't do it. Like he learned this entire system of staff fighting, which is luche, not
Right? The six
luche.
harmony staff system.
No, it's actually luche. It's a lot of people confuse it and call it luche. It's a different.
Uh,
It's luche. It's
Lucha.
like rubbing,
Okay. Okay.
luche, right? And people usually call it six harmony because
Uh-huh.
they hear luche, but it's not, right?
Not, okay.
Uh, it's a very interesting system, and he was trying to teach us that, but it's a whole huge system that you need to practice seriously.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna do that. I don't think he liked that at all. He was like, he really wanted us to learn that. Uh, um, I think maybe one or two people did. That's it, because it's just huge. It's a huge system. Then sometime one summer, he showed up and he was like, "Okay, I need somebody to learn Tai Chi Mantis from me now." And he was like looking at me specifically because for whatever reason I was like, it's like I'll pass. I'm sorry because it's I wanted to learn more of the Mei Hua,
Right.
stuff like that. So, and then sometimes it would be the opposite. It was like, "Can I learn this form?" You'd be like, "No, it's not for you. It's not just not for your body type."
Uh,
And he wouldn't teach us. So that happened a lot too, right? So it wasn't like you get what you want. You get like sometimes not at all,
hmm. Hmm.
right? Yeah. And then, okay. So, and then of course the big part of his thing was researching the athletic training, the military examination systems
Right.
of the Qing dynasty. And
When did that start? Like his interest in that? Because you
I
were
think
there when he started getting into that, right?
around the time that we met, I think something like that, maybe a little earlier, but around there. So that was very interesting. I want to show you something. Uh, let me see if I can. How do I turn this around? Oh, okay.
Oh, there's a bow. There's an examination stone.
That's
Did you have
examination
that
stone.
made?
I made it. Yes,
Wow.
I made it from concrete. This one's 130 kilos, so
Jeez.
it's a medium one.
Uh-huh.
It's a Manchu bow, Mongol bow,
Yeah.
uh, and made this.
青云地水不压. I don't know that last character, but
Yeah, and this is
Mei Hua
the
Tang
praying
Lang.
mantis.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mei Hua Tang Lang.
So some stuff here. So um, let me go back to yeah. Uh, okay, so yeah, we started training, and this is where I understood. that basically, uh, I mean, Kung Fu works as is, obviously, there's a lot of different training methods. But if you add that, like the athletic training this way, with the halberd, heavy halberd,
Mm.
I actually had one made for me. I don't have it here. It's in
Yeah.
Moscow, and I couldn't bring it here. It's huge, and it's very heavy, right? Uh, I'm still thinking of how to make one here. I have a bunch of Dunze, the
Okay.
barbells. I made those. Those are easy to make,
Right.
right? But without that training, I mean, with that, okay, let's put it the other way. With that training, it makes the technique work in an entirely different way
Right.
because that the strength component, and it's not just strength. It's not like it's not just a deadlift or something. I mean, you manipulate the stone, you move it around, yeah. So it teaches you a lot of other things as well,
Right.
like
Right. Right.
balance and stuff like that. And that's what you do with people too, right? You
Right. Right. Right.
lift
Right.
them up, you twist them around, and uh, things like that. It takes you to a whole nother level, definitely,
Yeah.
training wise. Yeah, so that's in short, that's it.
That's amazing. Going from your journey with karate, Vietnamese martial arts to modern combat sports to finally going back to traditional Chinese martial arts and finding
Mm,
not only the whole system of Mei Hua Tang Lang, but also this development of Gongli, right? Basically, like, I mean,
yeah,
in English we have the word strength training, but it's so much more than that. Like you were saying, it's very
it's
dynamic,
more. Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's more than that. It's not just strength training, no. Yeah, because it's you juggle with all these things, you move around with it. It's not just stationary strengths. It's not just strengths.
Right.
Uh, yeah, you have to spin the halberd. You have to move it around, and that's the same as manipulating. Well, obviously, halberd is a weapon, so it's probably great for weapons training, but we can't test it out too much,
Sure.
nowadays. But you can feel it in like wrestling and just fighting. You can feel that takes you to a different level of those things.
For sure.
So
Did you ever
yeah,
get in? I know that Master Ilya has talked about some of the Neigong Qigong practices, especially a
yes,
certain practice called
mm,
um, 三环九转, right?
yes.
Some of the like kind of more esoteric Neigong Qigong practices. Were you ever interested in that? Did you ever ask him about that?
Okay, so it wasn't my first interest. I was never big on that, but he had us do several different Neigon practices. Um, the one we did the most was called 8 characters.
Batsu. Okay.
Not, I think it had another name or something like that, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. 8 characters. So it's the same moves. You just do them like 8 times. It's just basically hitting yourself and breathing really hard and stuff like that. A little bit similar to the Honja stuff, but different expression.
Mhm.
But it's also very intense. It's very very intense. Very. It's not this type of qigong. Uh, we did that. We did several versions of 8 brocades. We did. Um, there's another qigong that he added uh, to our athletic training. It's not has nothing to do with athletic training, but he added that because he thought it was valuable, and I think it's great. It's called. Oh, the I don't remember the Chinese name unfortunately, but it's the uh, protective golden bell.
Hmm. I don't think I've heard
That's
of
the
that.
term. Yeah, yeah, it's very interesting. Um, it's breathing oriented. You hold your breath like in different postures. You hold for prolonged periods of time, and somebody has to count for you. And in double digits, like 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, 8, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 2, like this. And you hold your breath, hold your breath, hold your breath, and then you can, you breathe out, you breathe in again, you hold it in different postures, and it has two parts. One part is that, and second part with some pai dagun, with some
Okay.
hitting
So
yourself.
self-hitting.
Yes. So we did a bunch of that. Out of all that stuff, I regularly do the Xiaobai Dagun. It's called. It's just a small set of breathing and hitting yourself, which I just really like because it's very short.
Hmm. Easy to
Right.
remember.
Yes. um,
A question that I had also, what is, because I'm a forms guy, what were the core forms that you learned of Mei Hua Tang Lang? Because for me,
mm,
I always thought that Taiji Talang and Mei Hua Talang were, even though the name was different, they're related, right? Some people
very
call it Taiji
related.
Mei Hua, so I always thought that they were just one system. I didn't know that people differentiated it.
It's closely related. It's
Okay.
closely related from what I've seen. I haven't done Tai Chi Tanan
Mhm.
or Mei Hua Tai Chi Tanan. I've done little bits that he would show us. I
Mhm.
know like one form from here and there. But not the system. But at its core, there's huge difference
Mhm.
in the way that technique is expressed, like the way you do it. Uh, I would say Mei Hua is very direct, very powerful. A lot of strength. Like it's a lot of brute force goes into it.
Mhm.
A lot of you cover big distances. You move in very quickly, and it's not a lot of combos are not big. It's 1, 2 moves. It's usually a nice hit on top, and then you sweep the person and finish him. That's it.
Okay.
That's basically. It's very straightforward. Like Taiji Talan has a lot of combos, like 3, 4, 5, 6 punch combos. We don't
Mhm.
have that.
Mhm.
Like not a whole lot. Like maybe in Lanje,
Okay.
couple like
How
three
would you
punch
compare
combos.
Mei Hua with Qixing, like Plum Flower with Seven
Oh,
Star?
completely different. Completely different. Yes,
Completely different.
Chishinta from what I've seen. Okay, there's different Chishin, of course, because some of it is more like Taiji Tanan.
Mhm.
But if we're talking, what's commonly seen as Chishin
The Hong
Tanan
Kong
is,
lineages.
mm, it's very different. I would say they sacrifice the power for speed uh, entirely, right? So very little power, a lot of fast moves. Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know. I haven't done it personally, so I can't judge, how effective it is or something like that. It's just I see the difference. But as far as the curriculum of Mei Hua, the way we learned it, it comes from lineage of Xukunshan, right? So the lineage is fairly simple. It's Van Lan, Liergo, who's Li Binxiao,
Mhm.
Liang Xushan,
Yeah, too.
Xukunshan,
Mhm.
Xukunshan, Lin Tan Fan. That's it.
Mhm.
That's the lineage.
Pretty direct lineage, direct
That's
transition.
it. Yeah. But it's except for Van Lan, which impossible to verify.
Yeah.
Everyone else is real people in
Right.
village records, right? So, I mean, you gotta ask Ilya about that. He has the entire thing,
Sure. Sure. Sure.
like yeah. Um, but the curriculum is from Sukunshan. So Sukunshan's curriculum varied on where he was teaching and who he was teaching, because when Ilya went around these villages where he was teaching, he found that in one village he would teach these two forms and some other stuff. And in another one, he wouldn't teach that form at all.
Mhm.
The basics were very similar, but sometimes he would skip a thing to here, or skip a thing to here, or add something there. And when he taught us, he kind of like just put it together from what he got from all these villages. The most complete out of all of these was the lineage of Lin Tan Fan. That's why he moved to that village and lived there for several years to study the style directly with him all the time.
Mhm.
He bought a house. He bought a house in the village, lived with him,
Wow.
helped him with his chores, doing whatever. Yeah,
Right.
working in the field, literally,
Wow.
and learning from him directly. Right. Yeah. So anyway, so what we learned was you start with Jeep and Gong, uh, uh, which consists of like um, one stretching exercise, one hitting the arms exercise, two stances, uh, in which was very different. I've never seen it anywhere else. You stand in the stance and getting hit by Ilya. He walks
Mhm.
around and he hits you when you stand in it. Like you get hit hard
Kind of
from
like
all
how the
kinds
karate
of
guys do when they're doing sanshin. Like,
exactly like that. Yes, exactly. So I've never seen that anywhere else in Chinese martial arts, at least, right? Uh, so you stand in two stances, like Zimashi and Denshan. You stand, you get hit. That's the process. If there's a lot of people in the class, it takes a very long time, and it becomes really tired, difficult. So I liked when there was like very few people.
well, you got lucky those days.
Yeah. I was like, oh, 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. Because it was like it was. If it was like more than 6 people, it was becoming painful. Yeah, because he would take his time. He would just walk around. You know, yeah, talk in the process. And it's like, oh my god, I'm dying here. Anyway, so that was right, and then you go straight into 4 basic combinations, right? That usually combine hitting and throwing, all of them. You do both simultaneously. You hit somebody in the face and you throw them, trip them. That was the foundation. There are different ways of doing that. 2 of them with hitting with elbows, uh, um, 2 with the mantis hook like this. Very different hook, mantis hook from the other styles I've seen, because it's like this.
Mm.
It's a rigid structure,
Mm.
like this. These 2 fingers together, right? Very interesting, because you hit with that stuff. I've never seen, usually
So
people hit with
yeah,
this stuff. You hit with this stuff.
yeah, interesting.
Yeah, yeah, in all kinds of ways. Very interesting stuff. Right. So we train that, and so combos, and then you do it in pairs. You do it on the back. That's the basic training, and then you learn like a small combo. Basically, it's called Ben Chao Chui. And it's a combo with like a couple more punches there and a couple more sweeps.
Mhm.
Basically, you do that as paired exercise. Everything is done in pairs,
Yeah.
right? Uh, then you learn a first form. There are 2 forms that he teaches as they are not mantis. They are pre-mantis forms that were adopted by whoever created the style. Uh, It was changed. One of those styles still exists as a separate style in a village nearby, right? And those two forms are from two different styles. One is called Lanma. It's basically the basics that you do, painted, put together in a form with some additional material.
Mhm.
Very straightforward stuff. Like just you learn that, and you basically learn how to basically fight.
Mhm.
If the goal is to learn how to fight, it's pretty good, and it's good enough. It's got elbows, knees, kicks, punches, and sweeps and throws, and
Mhm.
um, it's good enough. Yeah. And then you learn a second one, which is called, but it's very straightforward. It's like straight in, you know. The second one is Fen Mao Chun, and this one gives you angles, interesting stuff. It's from a different style.
Mhm.
Uh, that's the basic material. From there, you go on to learn the actual Mantis stuff, which is bamboo, lanzia, bajo.
Mhm.
And if you learned all that, then you might get like there's separate techniques. I think they're not. I'm not sure they're put into a form called secret hands or something like that,
Misha.
right?
Misha. Yeah.
No, the different name.
Okay.
Different name. Yeah,
Different name.
not Micho. Yeah. Those ended up, as he said, as Ilya said, ended up becoming Jayal
Okay.
later. So those techniques became part of them. Like part of them are not anywhere else but in Mei Hua, but part of those techniques are Jayal
So
now.
kind of like a prototype.
Yeah, it's a proto Jayal,
Okay.
right? That's about it as far as hand-to-hand stuff. And there's some weapons, but like Ilya said, the weapons are not mantis. They're just from whatever. They have mantis flavor to them, but here and
Does your
there.
Bajo have four sections, or is it
Yes,
just four?
it's form, one form,
One
one
form.
very long form
Okay.
uh, that is, it could be broken down into
Multiple sections.
yeah, something like that. Yeah. Uh, yeah. I would say, the way he put it is, Mei Hua Tang Lang is basically wrestling with some striking to smooth the transitions,
Mhm.
like or as he said, uh, Fly Java strikes. So there's a lot of like the grappling component is very big. That makes it a lot different from the other Mantis stuff, where there's that like Tai Chi Talan's combos, a lot of combos for striking. Some wrestling, but
Mhm.
a lot of striking.
Mhm.
Here it's 65% wrestling
Mhm.
with a lot of strikes, powerful strikes, like hard strikes, to soften the opponent up so you can throw him and then finish him.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's in short. That's what we learned.
No, that's again, I'm getting information from other podcasts and information. I mean, Shifu Ilya has written so many things online, and I know that he's been planning to write this big book. That's
He wrote it.
Seems like it's been years that he's been putting his energies into
He
it. And we're all looking
he
forward
he
to when
wrote
he does finally publish his grand grand
he
grand thesis of Mantis.
he wrote it. He wrote it. It's written. It's
It's
written.
already
It's
done.
been written. It's written for years. It's been written for years. He never published it.
Well, what's stopping him? Is it in
Um,
Russian English or
yes, it's in English.
it's in
Yeah.
English? Oh man.
Because okay, back in 2019, he moved to Russia because he was invited by Russian Wushu Federation because the head of the federation had a very nice idea. He was like, the sport wushu is really degrading to the point where it's nothing to do with wushu, and we need to preserve the traditional stuff. And if the Chinese don't want to do it on a governmental level, we'll do it, right? So he invited a bunch of people,
Mhm.
and Ilya, to form this um, kind of like a federation within a federation,
Sure.
just to preserve this stuff. The idea was to record the forms, the way they were done, the techniques and everything, and do seminars. And he started doing that. And, I was at those seminars that Ilya was teaching. Uh, the people at the seminars were Russian Wushu Federation sports guys, right? Uh, they were kind of muscled there to the first seminar. They didn't want to be there. They don't like the traditional stuff at all. They were like
Mhm.
they
Mhm.
have a very very weird relationship with the traditional stuff. They're like, we just do forms, and we're very good at that. Or we just do sanda, for example, right? So there were like a bunch of sanda and forms people that were brought in, and we did a seminar. And we specifically, Ilya told us, he was like, don't beat these guys up. They're not used to it. Don't do anything. Like, they're not going to like it. We didn't do it. But I was in the changing room with all these world champions after, and they were like, what the hell did I come? I got bruise here. I got a bruise there. I'm not coming back. They never came back.
Oh man,
The
what a
next
what a
first seminar was huge. It was like, a big seminar because the Moscow Wushu Palace is a huge place. It can host a lot of people, and he brought, the coaches, the really, big people, right? Uh, the second one, it was like 10 people there out of like, 100 something that came
oh,
first.
they just
10
dropped off.
people showed up. 10 people showed up. Out of the ones that showed up to the first seminar, I think there was three.
Oh,
Three out of 100 something. They didn't like it at all.
oh
They were
boy.
like, we were being very nice. It was
Uh-huh.
very, I was trying my best not to do anything, He told us, these guys are fragile, don't do shit, right? And we're trying not to do anything. And they still didn't like it, anyway, so what I was trying to say is, at that time, the head of the federation was going to publish his book, right? And because it was written in English, it needed to be translated into Russian. And he split it up. He gave me 10 chapters. He gave the other two guys, not 10, and 10 chapters to quickly translate it into Russian. So I was sitting there just translating it like crazy. I translated 10 chapters. I still have it somewhere. I can't obviously show it to anybody because it's his material. But detail in there and how deep he went into, like, this is real historical, legit research into every single lineage, every single, myth or history or personal anecdotes that he recorded from the grandchildren of different. He tracked them down, like he found grandchildren of Dan Shushan, I think, and
Yeah.
a bunch of other people. They still live in those villages. Nobody knows them, right? He found like old forgotten steles of like Lidanbai. It was in the dirt by the road. Somebody just threw it out. It was just he was like, that says Lidanbai. And he dug it up. It was a huge stele. They restored
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
and put it back in the village.
Yeah.
The villagers had no idea it was there. They had no idea, and stuff like that. So, so I saw it, I read it, and I can definitely say that this is, I mean, serious work. Serious work. Okay, why he doesn't publish it? I think he needs a publisher. Uh, Somebody is interested in publishing. This is it's it's very big. It's very specific. It's interesting, probably only to people who do praying mantis, or they do, Chinese martial arts seriously, and they're just like, I don't do mantis, but this is interesting, because it intertwines with other stories of other styles, because people
Hmm.
would run into each other, they would have matches, or they would learn from each other, and whatever, and styles would influence styles. Like he published a small article recently on the kind of Bagua and pretty much his connection. I don't know if you've read it. Uh,
I don't think
uh,
so.
yeah, recently, it's like a small thing he published, but it's very interesting where he researches how these guys would interact and how because okay, so I was learning this uh, branch of the Mei Hua that he showed me. There were some forms from a nearby village,
Hmm.
and he was like, "I'll teach you that because you just like that guy that invented them. You're like short and stocky, and like this will be good for you. I can teach you that." I was like, "Okay, great, right?" So I learned this couple of forms from there, right? Something like that. There's no other form. The other forms are standard forms. It's just some extra material that he was teaching, which I